Hey, what's up, man? So it's a real rainy day today, and I was thinking about this old book from when I was a kid, like 8 years old, and I used to read this thing incessantly. I'm talking like in an average day, I'd probably read this book 3, 4, 5 times in the same day. Same with that movie, The Little Rascals. I'd probably watch that like 3 to 4 times in a single day. And I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, was that book really as good as I remember? So I wanted to go over it again and see if you share the same sentiment. Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. From what I remember about this book, I thought it was a dream sequence. I thought all the things in this book were either a greatly exaggerated version of the actual events, or they straight up didn't happen at all, right? It was a dream sequence. This Alexander fella, he was imagining it all up. And a lot of run-on sentences. I went to sleep with gum in my mouth, and now there's gum in my hair, and when I got out of bed this morning, I tripped on the skateboard, and by mistake, I dropped my sweater in the sink while the water was running, and I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Welcome to every day of your life after you turn 25. At breakfast, Anthony found a Corvette Stingray car kit in his breakfast cereal box, and Nick found a junior undercover agent code ring in his breakfast cereal box. But in my breakfast cereal box, all I found was breakfast cereal. The era where you would have toys in cereal boxes. And it wasn't just like little rings either. You would get full-blown video games in them as well. I remember I got a copy of Chex Quest in there, and it was the full game. It was the sickest thing ever. Oftentimes, this is a little deceptive. I don't know if they knew about this, but these little things they're talking about with the junior undercover rings and the car kits and all that stuff, you wouldn't always get those in the box. You would have to sign these little UPC cover codes. You'd have to collect like 15 of them and then send them off to some factory. And then after like 2 months, they would send this over to you. But you would never rarely get something as cool as a car kit just straight out of the box. So it's from a different era. I think I'll move to Australia. Me when I decide to move to Australia. In the carpool, Ms. Gibson let Becky have a seat by the window. Audrey and Elliot got seats by the window too. I said I was being scrunched. I said I was being smushed. I said, if I don't get a seat by the window, I'm going to be carsick. No one even answered. Ooh. Now, I don't know what's more disturbing about this, the fact that this dude's being literally crushed, or the fact that these kids have 4 eyes. It looks like one of those optical illusions. You know the one where it gives you that giant checkerboard, and when you try to look at one little circle on it, you start seeing circles all over it? That's what their eyes remind me of, and it's freakish. I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Oh, see, now the eyes look completely different. I guess the artist kind of realized halfway through, oh, maybe we shouldn't give kids nightmares immediately. But this is not helping. Looks like he's being kidnapped. Or like the ending to the movie Misery. At school, Miss Dickens liked Paul's picture of the sailboat better than my picture of the invisible castle. Dude's trying to do some avant-garde abstract arts, and they're just not getting it. We had kids like this when I was in school that would try to pull little things like this. They would try to go outside of the box. But the reality was, they just didn't want to do the actual assignments, and they were trying to rationalize some clever way of being like, well, see, here's what I was actually trying to do. So you have to have a very high intelligence to understand my project. That's what this whole vibe was. I get what you're doing, Alexander. I understand it. Believe you. I was you. Sometimes it worked. At singing time, she said I sang too loud. At counting time, she said I left out 16. Who needs 16? I could tell. It was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I don't remember ever having singing time in school. I remember there was a throwaway class we used to have if you wanted to get like extra credits in high school called general music, where we sat down and watched horrible DVDs of like concerts and stuff like that, which is the easiest A I ever got in my life. But dedicated singing time in a normal everyday classroom, I don't know. Is that a common thing? I could tell it because Paul said I wasn't his best friend anymore. He said that Philip Parker was his best friend, and that Albert Moyo was his next best friend, and that I was only his 3rd best friend. Oh my god, yes, we did used to rank friends. We used to have best friends, and then best friends, and then best friends, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a best friend, right? I mean, if you're going to have like 7 best friends, are they really best friends at that point? I feel like they're just regular friends. It's the MySpace era, dude, when you used to like rank your top 5s, right? You used to rank like top 6 people, and if anybody wasn't in that top 6 that felt like they should have been in that top 6, that friendship was ending. It was over. You weren't getting out of that one. I hope you sit on a tack, I said to Paul. I hope the next time you get a double-decker strawberry ice cream cone that the ice cream part falls off and the cone part lands in Australia. What is it with this kid in Australia? My God almighty. And it looks like he's just like sitting in some random corner and yelling at a wall, which, hey, listen, sometimes it do be like that. When you just get so frustrated and you just start screaming at walls, because you can't scream at people, you know, they tend to frown upon that and society in general tends to judge you, but you can scream at walls all you like. Looks like he learned that lesson pretty early on. There were 2 cupcakes in Philip Parker's lunch bag, and Albert got a Hershey bar with almonds, and Paul's mother gave him a piece of jelly roll that had little coconut sprinkles on the top. Guess whose mother forgot to put in dessert? Was this like a brand deal with them and Hershey's? Because they're the only brand name I think that's mentioned throughout this entire story. So I think Hershey's was writing a fat check, dude. This book was hella popular back then, and I wonder if the early versions of this book had Hershey's in it, or if this was just like a new edition they added in when it started rolling in buku bucks. Acquire the bag at all times, or the lunch bag in this case. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. That's what it was, because after school, my mom took us all to the dentist, and Dr. Fields found a cavity just in me. Come back next week and I'll fix it, said Dr. Fields. Next week, I said. I'm going to Australia. How much was airfare back in like 1995? Was it expensive? Could I easily just go to Australia anytime I wanted? Because now it's like $900 to go here just to Australia, right? I'm not even talking round trip. I'm saying I'm going there once, battling with some kangaroos and then coming back. Not even coming back, dude. Not even coming back. This was simultaneously one of the best things and the worst things about getting out early in school. Because on the one hand, you get to leave at like 1 o'clock. Oh, awesome. School ends at 3. I get to leave at 1 o'clock. I get to go and watch Ed, Edd, and Eddy on TV. That's all good. No. It wasn't that simple. You got to leave at 1 o'clock, and then you had to go right to a dentist appointment, or you had to go right to a doctor's appointment. And by the time you got out of that, it was like 5 o'clock. So you missed all your shows. You missed all your appointment television. No Powerpuff Girls for you. On the way downstairs, the elevator door closed on my foot. And while we were waiting for my mom to go get the car, Anthony made me fall where it was muddy. And then, when I started crying because of the mud, Nick said I was a crybaby. This is the most malicious group of siblings I've ever seen in my life. Look at the evil in that dude's eyes. That is something that was intentional. This guy had evil on his mind, man. He woke up that day and decided, I want to cause abject suffering to the people I love most today, and I want to do it in the most show-stopping way ever. Look at the effect he had. I cried because of the mud. Yeah, I can understand. Them some new Gucci's right there. I'd cry too. While I was punching Nick for saying crybaby, my mom came back with the car and scolded me for being muddy and fighting. Now I'm kind of going against Alexander, because up until now, I was on your side. You're having a bad day, things aren't going your way, I understand. And then he starts going around punching people, which does not seem like a rational response to any of this. Well, let me ask you this. If somebody pushes you in the mud, do you think punching them is an equal and measured response? Do you think that's the same amount of aggression that's needed in that situation? I don't know. I'm having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, I told everybody. No one even answered. So this is the part that makes me think maybe it isn't all in his head, because 10-year-olds complain about everything. They'll whine, and they'll make the biggest deal to make a mountain out of a molehill about things that don't even really matter, but to them, it's the worst thing in the world. So then we went to the shoe store to buy some sneakers. Anthony chose the white ones with the blue stripes, Nick chose red ones with white stripes. I chose blue ones with red stripes. But then, the shoe man said, we're all sold out. They made me buy plain old white ones. But they can't make me wear them. Oh, the rebellion! The rebellion, I love it! And that's where he kind of fights back against the system. This is where Alexander takes his stand against the meritocracy. Oh, okay, you've got the haves and the have-nots. Well, guess what? You can't make me do anything. That old Pengu comic when you want to do something, but then somebody tells you to do it, and you're like, well, now I'm not doing it. I feel that energy. I'm with you there, bro. When we picked up my dad at his office, he said I couldn't play with his copying machine, but I forgot. He also said to watch out for the books on his desk, and I was careful as I could be, except for my elbow. He also said don't fool around with his phone, but I think I called Australia. My dad said, please don't pick him up anymore. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. What a strange comment for your dad to say in front of you and your entire family. Don't pick up this child anymore. I'm tired of him. Get him out of my house. Now, granted, the dude's causing a mess, but It seems like such an overreaction, and that's kind of what this entire book is. It's either one person overreacting to the other, or one person just kind of making things up that never happened in the first place. Look at the smile on Alexander's face. The dude is an agent of chaos. There were lima beans for dinner, and I hate limas. There was kissing on TV, and I hate kissing. That old stereotype of hating slimy vegetables like okra, Brussels sprouts, and lima beans, very much the case. I was not one of those kids, bro. I loved okra. I loved that slimy, thick, gooey texture to it. It was great. Lima beans just tasted like regular beans, man. You put that in like a bunch of rice or something like that, or mix it in with some chicken, you would hardly even notice it was there. I think this was one of those stereotypes that like the media just manufactured, right? They're like, oh, lima beans are bad. All the children hate lima beans and Brussels sprouts, so we're just gonna push this forward. No, really was not the case. My bath was too hot, I got soap in my eyes, my marble went down the drain, and I had to wear my railroad train pajamas. I hate my railroad train pajamas. I don't know why, man. It looks kind of fire to me. It looks like a young Pikachu or something like that. The grimace on his face just continuously evolves as the book goes on. It's like he's aging from 10 years old to like a 70-year-old geriatric by the time this is over. When I went to bed, Nick took back the pillow he said I could keep, and the Mickey Mouse nightlight burned out, and I bit my tongue. The cat wants to sleep with Anthony, not me. It has been a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. My mom says some days are like that. There's nothing worse than an animal you love that doesn't want to cuddle with you. And this is a dog that likes to cuddle, imagine, right? You know when you walk into a room and a dog says hi to everybody in the room, but they skip over you? Oh, imagine that pain times 1,000 when it's an animal that you know and you love and you take care of. It gets you right in the heart, man. Oh, even in Australia. And that's how the book ends. It ends on this like down, depressing note that no matter where you go, no matter what you do, at some point in time, you're kind of going to be miserable. And that's what made this book so interesting for the time, because children's books back then didn't really have, I guess, sad endings. They didn't really have bad endings. Everything ended on like an upbeat note, but oh, the sun shines another day. But this one ended on a really somber, kind of mature note that, hey, listen, man, if you're going to go and be 13 or something like that, you got to know, man, it sucks. Sometimes it sucks. And that's just the way life goes. So we're preparing you for the misery that's ahead. I thought that was kind of cool. My theory of this being a dream sequence that may or may not have happened, I don't really think it's true. I think part of it happened, part of it didn't happen, part of it might have been a dream, but in general, I think all these things are the over-exaggeration of a 10-year-old boy trying to figure out where he is in life and trying to rationalize the things that are happening to him. I'm with him. Why did this happen? I don't know. Who knows? But Australia is the same way, so, there's some comfort for you. Good book. Holds up. I like it.